boom, 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 boom. Hello, boys and girls. This is Unchained CEO, location independent income through own location independent business that sets you free from your bullshit 9-to-5 corporate job and or your bullshit gigs. And if you want, moving to another country or at least setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. I have Billie joining me today, as you guys can see, those of you watching the video. Hi, Billie.
Hi, Caleb. Hi, business nieces and nephews.
They're the business auntie. Excuse me. I keep doing this. I keep eating something right before a live stream, and then it fucks up my throat. I got to stop doing that. God damn. I don't know what it is about compels me to eat right before I do a live stream. Anyway, today we're going to talk about...
I do have a question. Was it calamari?
No.
Okay, then we're good.
Why would you... What the hell did that come from? Why would you assume that?
Oh, I'm going to see if anyone in the live stream understands why I asked him that question.
Is that a joke that I'm not aware of? This is an inside joke? All right.
It's a little bit of an inside joke, but I'll cue everyone in at the end of the live stream, so stick with us.
All right. My wife loves calamari. Calamari is okay, but it's more about what you dip it in than the flavor of the calamari. It's all about the dip because, yeah, anyway. As you guys are filing in here, a number of you asked me earlier about movies. So first of all, two things. One is I have decided to do a nerd live stream. I'll probably do it in November, and I don't know if I'll do it here. Yeah, I'll probably do it here at the Unchained CEO channel, where we just talk about nerd shit, because you guys, enough of you wanted me to do that. So there'll be no real topic. I'll have some topics. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all that nerd shit. So we'll do that. Probably, maybe we'll do like a Thanksgiving special or something for you Americans. I don't know. We'll do something like that. And then the other part of this is I have a new theory, and that is that, checking the technology here. Yeah, a few minutes, we'll get to our topic. Every month for the past several years, as in 6 or 7 years now, we get one or more movies that come out that have cost more than $100 million to make, and they flop. So Hollywood is losing literally hundreds of millions of dollars a month and has been doing so for many years. And as I've talked about in the past, in the 80s or 90s, if this had happened in 1 year, the very next year, all the heads would have been fired and they would have immediately course corrected. But this has been going on for 5 or 6 years. So it's only one of two. There's a thing called Occam's razor, which is the easiest, most obvious solution usually is the answer, or the easiest answer to the question is usually the answer. So if you look at Occam's razor, either they're doing this on purpose for some reason, or everyone in Hollywood is stupid. Now, some of you are going to say, I know you guys, some of you are going to say, well, they're trying to promote a woke agenda. Some of that stuff is true with the Star Wars stuff. That's true. But like this month, it's Joker 2. That's not a woke movie. Last month, it was Borderlands. That's not a woke movie. It's still, these are movies that cost hundreds of millions and they flop and they're awful and no one likes them. So that doesn't explain it. So either everyone in Hollywood is stupid. So let's look at that. So like the Joker 2 was made by Todd Phillips, who made the Hangover movies. He's a good filmmaker. Is he stupid? No, he's not stupid. Joaquin Phoenix. Is Joaquin Phoenix stupid? Is Lady Gaga stupid? No. These are people who understand the business that they're in. So Borderlands, last month you had Kate Blanchett. Is Kate Blanchett stupid? No. So these are very intelligent, accomplished people in Hollywood making these movies. These aren't morons making all these movies. These are really smart people making these movies. So the answer is they're not stupid. So if they're not stupid, the only other thing you've got is they're doing this on purpose. So this might be half a conspiracy theory, but this is just a guess on my part, but it makes sense. As I've talked about, the entire stock market is owned by 88% of the entire S&P 500 is owned by 3 companies. Now that includes Disney. So Disney is just one little line item in a giant, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Okay. So it's entirely possible that, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it would explain it. What else? What other explanation is there? It's entirely possible that Charlie Fink, the head of BlackRock, is talking to one of his thousands of companies he owns, and one company says, we need to show $1 trillion loss this year to offset these taxes by this. And Fink says, all right, no problem. So he calls up the CEO of Disney and says, I need you to lose $1 trillion this year. Or I need you to lose $500 million this year, or whatever. I need you to lose, $1 billion, whatever. And the guy goes, whoa, I can't lose that. I'll get fired. No, don't worry, CEO. We'll take care of you. If you get fired, we'll give you a $40 million thing. Don't worry, you'll be taken care of. I just need to see a giant loss this year of $1 billion. I need to see $1 billion loss this year. They go, okay, and they do it. Could I be wrong? Sure, but what other explanation is there? It's not, oh, they're all woke. They're not. They're not all woke. Some of them are. They're not. And as I said last year on my other channel, the Barbie movie was woke, and was the biggest movie last year. $1.5 billion, and the 14th highest gross movie of all time. 14th. So that's not the answer. Either they're doing this on purpose or they're all retards. They're not all retards, so they're doing this on purpose. I mean, that's the only explanation there is. I don't know, because we don't live in a capitalistic system anymore. We live in a quasi-fascist system. When you have 3 companies owning the entire stock market, that's not capitalism. You're in a different model now. You're in corporatism. So anyway, I don't know. Oh God, we're already getting questions. Let's do questions really quick. Billy, did you see any questions you want to hit? One of them is addressed to you. One from Tommy 878. You want to address that one?
Let me go look.
Okay. I'll answer one in the meantime. You said that Mexico is not a dangerous flag, but 37 different presidential candidates were murdered in a few months. Should I move? You asked that same question last time, and here is my answer. Show me the link.
No.
I want to see the news reports that show this.
Let me answer this one, because my answer is, are you running for fucking president of Mexico? If you are not running for president of Mexico, how relevant is that to you?
Right.
Right. So as an old lady, when I move to Mexico, am I worried about it? Nah, I'm really not. Stay in safe places. Do your research. It's the same as living anywhere. There are many more places in Chicago that I would avoid than I would based on my experiences in Mexico so far.
And you were just in Mexico.
Do your homework, visit. I am 1 week back from Mexico, and I'm planning my next trip already. So
I have talked about how when you go move to another country and you say, but this country did this to this people, and it's always like people in politics or political dissidents. People said that when I moved to Dubai. Caleb, they arrest people if you're a political dissident and you get up and you say, am I a political dissident? Would you move to a new, you guys gotta think this through. Plus, again, my original answer, I want to see the link and I want to see proof that happened. I don't believe you. But let's say it did. Would you move to a country to go protest the politics in that country? Would any of you do that? Would I do that? Would Billy do that? No. You move there because you like it, not because you dislike it. Why the fuck would you move to a country you didn't like and you're going to protest their People are just so dumb sometimes.
Just choose a different country. Ben, if you're that worried about it, legit, my brother, choose a different country.
But then he'll freak out about that country. He'll freak out about that country. Something will happen. Oh, no.
There's always going to be a reason to be afraid of something. I came up against that this last week. There's always going to be a reason to choose to be afraid. You have to decide whether your fear is something that you want to overcome.
And follow the 2% rule.
Yep, exactly. So let's go back. Tommy had a question. Thoughts about using to-do list or checklist. Is it enough? And how do we make it more effective? So I don't use those two tools personally. I think they're not deep enough for what I like to do. So it's a very personal decision. I like Basecamp for a lot of my clients, Caleb included, because it's easy to use, but you can store a tremendous amount of data. We can forward emails. We can set up repeating templates, etc. There are many more capabilities in a tool such as Basecamp, which is why I like it. But use what works for you. It doesn't matter what I like. What matters is that the tool that you will use every day and that will use as your source of all truth. So if a to-do list is something that you can use as your source of all truth, use it. If you need something a little bit more robust, use a different tool. There are tons and tons of awesome things out there. Whether you're somebody who needs things, in a visual order, whether you're someone who would like me who wants just data points, find a tool that works for you and stick to it. That's the most effective thing you can do. Caleb, how would you answer that?
To-do list and what? Let me see. To-do list, checklist, is it enough? Do we make it more effective? Is using just a to-do list enough? Depends on your version of the word enough. For me, no. Now, if you're doing no time management whatsoever, and all you do is start using a to-do list, your productivity will increase 25%. So that's good. But is that all you want? It depends on your goals. I want to make a lot of money. So just a fucking to-do list isn't going to do it. I've talked many times about how you plan out your week. Then you plan every night, you plan the next day. Then you set priorities for the next day. Then you operate off a to-do list. Then you operate off block time. That's a lot more advanced than just having a to-do list. That is, quote, enough. Now, if your goal is to make $50,000 a year and that's it, then to-do list might be fine. So it depends what your goals are. So how do we make it more effective? You do it as a component of a larger program, not just a to-do list. But to-do list is a good step one. If you're just a complete maniac when it comes to time management, you know what the hell you're doing. You do nothing and you start using a to-do list. Yeah, that'll help a lot. Yeah, try it. If you've never done a to-do list in your life, sit down the night before. It's better the night before than the morning of, and write a to-do list for tomorrow. And go to bed, and then put it on your. I used to do this years ago. Print it out on a piece of paper and lay it on your keyboard. And you sit down and it's right there, and you get right to work. Yeah, but is that all? Not for me. Not enough for Billy. We're high achievers, though. So it depends what you want to do.
Let's start with something. Tell me if you're already using a tool. Fucking awesome. You're ahead of 70% of people. Keep that in mind. The other thing I'd like to add is that regardless of the tool you are using, there are different what are those things called that you put on your computer? Fuck.
What
this
thing?
is where Auntie Billie is 800
Those
years
things
old.
called you put on your computer.
Yep. There are extensions that you can
Files?
get and apps that you can get.
Apps.
Extensions is what I was trying to think of.
Okay. Extensions.
I'm
All
sick.
right.
So whatever, I tried.
All right.
So yeah, there are extensions you can get, like Clockify, like Toggle, which is I know what you use.
We'll
There
talk
are
about
many
that today.
different extensions that you can plug in to the different to-do lists and try, different tools that you're using for your project or list management. So it's the combination of those two tools together, I think, are the most powerful.
Correct. It's to-do list is part of an integrated system. It's not your only thing that you're using. Speaking in general. All right, let's get to our topic. That's a good question for our topic. So this is a time management, training. And this is a subset of time management is measurement. So many of you have heard this if you've watched other podcasts or business audios. God damn it. Hang on. Fucking hell. Stop eating salsa, Caleb, right before a live stream. What gets measured gets improved. For example, and I know this, if all you do is weigh yourself every morning, not just mornings of where the day before your diet was good, every morning, including like last night, you had a bunch of cake because you're out with your friends and shit. You should weigh yourself that morning. So every morning you weigh yourself. If that's all you do, you will lose weight because you'll go, oh my God. And consciously or subconsciously, you'll start watching what you're eating because you're measuring it. So if you measure how much money you make, if you have your own business, you measure how much money you make every day, every week, every month, every quarter, which I do. Not every day, but I look at cash every day, but I measure weekly cash flow, monthly revenue, and then quarterly revenue. I'm looking at these numbers all the time. Guess what? You're probably going to make more money because you're seeing these numbers all the time. If you review your net worth, those of you who have investment portfolios, if you look at those regularly, look at mine once a week, generally speaking, your net worth will probably improve over time because you're looking at the number. Okay. So what a critical part of what I do in terms of managing my time, multiple companies, Billy and I are both involved in multiple companies, multiple income streams. Billy and I both travel the world. I have a very colorful personal life that takes time. So we have very full lives. Okay. In order to be successful managing all these different bouncing balls, juggling balls, is I track my time every week. Now, before I go into the specifics about how I do this, I always have to state this for the record. I'm an extremist. Billy is kind of too, but I think I'm even more than Billy is. So I'm a time management extremist. I used to be a time management consultant. Don't do much of that anymore. But I mean, this was what I did for a living, was teaching time management skills, because this was the most important skill I wanted to master, because that is what what is called a leverage skill. If you learn time management, you tend to be better at this. It actually improves all the other areas of your life.
I'm the same. And as an ADHD person, it's hard as hell for me. So for some of you who are saying, I don't want to do this fucking time tracking he's going to talk about, this is annoying, it's not that useful, you're wrong. I have always had the same resistance, and I've always come back to the same solution, being I am at my best. My production is at its highest when I do this very annoying thing that Caleb is talking about. I am much better at making other people do the annoying thing, which is time tracking, than I am at doing myself. But I understand the importance, and this is why I think Caleb and I are a good balancing act, because I understand why it's important. I just don't fucking want to do it.
Right. I view it as stretching. I have to stretch because I'm old. So I have this stretch routine. It takes a half an hour. I hate it. It hurts. But I got to do it, or else, when I bend over, I'll be like, oh, my back. When I bend over, pick up a pen, that'll be me in a few years. So it's the same thing. Now, here's the good news. I'm going to address this directly in a few minutes. You can outsource a lot of this. You can outsource all this management. I'll tell you how I do it. Okay. Let's see. Something else I have to say. I heard dogs. What are those coming from? It's okay. I don't mind. It's funny.
That would be Lindy.
Yeah. Something else I always say when I discuss time management. Billy touched on this. If you choose a time management system that you fucking hate and can't stand, don't do it. Do something else that is more compatible with your personality. If you're certain time management systems will work for extreme extroverts that will not work for extreme introverts, and vice versa. If you're an INTJ, one time management system may or may not work for you that may work better for an ENFP. Okay, so just be aware of what you like and what you don't. You don't want to implement a time management system that you just is completely opposed your every fiber of your being, and you just won't do, because you won't do it. So what I'm about to talk about is easier for me, less easier for some people, but it's not super difficult. That plus I'm an extremist. So I'm going to describe in detail how I do this. You may go, oh my God, Caleb tracks that. If that's what you're thinking, fine. Don't track all the shit that I track. I track everything. Maybe you just track marketing time or IW time or work on my side business, my Alpha 2.0 business, because I have a job. How many hours per week I spend on building my business? You join Business Builder or something like that. You maybe just track that. Do something, track what makes sense for you. You don't have to be a fucking maniac like me, because I'm going to show you a lot of stuff. And some of you who are more like me will go, oh my God, that's awesome. I'm going to do exactly that. Great. Some of you are going, God damn, Caleb does all that. I would never do that. Great. Don't do that. But don't do nothing. Track something else that's important. Make sense? Okay. So what I do, and I've talked about this many times, but I'm going to go into details today about this.
Let me
is that I use an app. What's that?
One thing I want to add here quickly is that exactly like Caleb said, if what he does doesn't work for you, cool beans, man. Find something that does. Auntie Billy will help you, because I struggle with it. But it's the granularity of detail that Caleb is going to talk about capturing now that makes all the difference in your business, how you learn, how you're actually spending your time versus how you think you're spending your time. There is a very big gulf between those 2 points. So listen very carefully to what Caleb is telling you.
And you can always use what I talk about as an example, as a structure or a template, not that you have to do this exactly. Plus, by the way, you shouldn't do exactly what I'm doing, because my life is different than yours. I'm working on different projects than you're probably working on. So you use this as a model, as a template to start with, and you modify based on your life. That's all time management, by the way. And I say this in my time management in my books, The Unchained Man, talk about all that stuff. Like, here are the models, but tweak these to make them more compatible with your lifestyle and your personality. Like, I mean, I'll cover this as like I don't have any small children anymore. I used to. So I used to track kid time. I don't now. But if you have little kids, that's probably something you should track. Being a dad or a mom is kind of important. Okay. So that's an example. I'll cover that as I go along. Billy and I both use an app. We're a big fan of this, called Toggle. I've mentioned it before. It's TOGGL. The other one, there's some other ones. What's the other one? Clockify is the other one, right?
Clockify is another one I really love. It's super simple. The outputs are really clean.
There's a few of them. I
Fair
like
point.
Toggle. Clockify's as good, if not better. There's a few of them that are good. And these are timer apps where you hit start and you assign a category to the time that you're working on. And then when you switch working on something else, you tap it again, you tap the other thing. So for example, and I'll go through all my examples, all my detailed categories in a second. So if I'm working on SW, and first let me rewind. Those who are not clear with my terminology, there's SW and IW. SW is standard work. That is the work that you have to do in your business, but doesn't make you any new money, like checking your email, talking to your bookkeeper, to paying your taxes with your accountant, doing legal work, fixing problems on your website. These are things that have to get done, but they don't make you any money at all, any new money. If you don't do them, you will lose money. But if you do them, they won't make you any extra money. Has to get done, but it kind of sucks. So that's what SW means. IW is the opposite. IW work is work you don't have to do, but if you do it, you'll make more money. Like making more sales calls, developing a new product or a new service for your customers, increasing your advertising, writing a new book. These are things you don't have to do. They're not urgent, but when you do them, you will make more money. Not immediately. You don't make money the next day. It might take you 6 months to make the money, but you will make more money. And the goal for you, if you want to increase your income, and I'm constantly aware of this, is more IW, more IW, more IW. When you make all the money you want to make, then you can back off on IW all you want. But if you don't make what you want to make yet, you need to put more time into weekly IW work, which increases your income. Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm working on now in my own internal processes, I call SW for me buffer work. It's something I learned from a coaching program I took called Strategic Coach for high income earners. And that's the term I use in my head. I call it buffer work. So like meetings with my team, checking email, checking Basecamp, responding to my team's questions. That's buffer work. Okay. It has to get done, but it doesn't make me any new money, generally speaking, but it has to get done. So if I'm doing buffer work, let's say I'm in a meeting with Billy and Jeff. Okay. That's buffer work. So as soon as I start the meeting, I will go to my toggle and I'll hit buffer start and it'll start timing it. And I'll put my phone away. This is a desktop app and a phone app. I use the desktop app primarily. I try to avoid the phone. You're more productive using computers than you are phones. So I use the desktop. It's not an app. It's a website. So I have a separate browser on that screen over there for my toggle. Okay. So then the meeting's over. Let's say the meeting goes for an hour. The meeting's over and I'm going to go write a blog post. Okay. That's a category I call content creation. I have a custom set of categories. I'll go through all my categories in a minute. So I go to toggle and I press content creation. And so it stops the timer on buffer and it starts it on content creation. So it says buffer 1 hour and 2 minutes, content creation, the timer's still going. And then I'll write my blog post. I just wrote one earlier today. And let's say it takes me 45 minutes. And then let's say 45 minutes is up and one of my friends is coming over to my apartment. So that's called off time. Off time means I'm not working and I'm not doing anything productive. So I will press off. Now I won't stop the timer. I want to time how much time I'm not working. I want to see how much time I'm wasting by not putting in my business and my mission. So let's say I spend an hour, okay, hour and a half, whatever, okay, and then I go eat. I go eat lunch. That's still off. So I leave it the off timer going. Let's say I sit back down to work and I'm going to work on my sales funnel. That is IW work. Now, to me, I call that in my own internal stuff, I call it expansion. So I press expansion. And I do this all day, every waking hour. Now, I'm a maniac. Maybe you do this during your work day. And then when you're done working at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you're done. You stop timing yourself. I time my entire waking hours. When I go to the gym, that's exercise time. I press exercise. I have all these different categories. So then what happens is, this is really cool when you're a nerd, at the end of the week, I can now run a report and it shows me exactly where I'm spending my time. Because people say, I work so hard. But if you fall around the clipboard, they're not working hard at all. They say they work hard. They're not. Or they say, I'm in the gym 4, 6, 7 days a week. Are they really? No, they're not. Or they say, Yes, I spend more than 20 minutes a day with my children. Are they really? No, they're not. The only way to not bullshit yourself in terms of where you spend your time is to track your time like I do. So here's what I do is there's a procedure you can use in Toggle where you can export it to a CSV file or something like that. So I have my operations manager. He goes in every Sunday. He pulls the Toggle reports. He drops it into a spreadsheet I have on Google Sheets. And so by Sunday night, part of my weekly procedure, when I plan my week, I plan every week, every Sunday. One of my steps in planning my week is go look at your time tracking sheet. That's right in front of me here and see how well you did last week. So I have specific benchmarks and objectives on how much hours I want to spend in work, how much hours I want to minimize my off time, how many hours I want to spend exercising, how many hours I want to spend in IW work. I have all these goals I want. So I can look at my week. I'm looking at a sample week right now, and I can see immediately within 5 seconds, am I on track with where I should be in terms of where I should be spending my time, or am I way off track? And I know immediately, and there's no bullshit. It's not me thinking, well, I had a pretty good week last week. You don't know. Your memory sucks. You don't know that you have no idea what you're working on. You just know if you're stressed out or not, or how much money you made or not. These things don't reflect where you're putting in your time. And again, I'm not talking just about business time. You could I track time I spend with my wife, even when I'm not physically with her. You could track your time with your kids. I track my exercise time. I track all this stuff. So I can't bullshit myself. So there are weeks where I go, ugh, I didn't work very much. So there's the next piece to this, and I'll go through my categories in a second. If I have a week that looks bad, let's say the off is very high, then I ask myself, why is it that high? Do I have a valid reason for my off to be that high? So 2 or 3 weeks ago, my off was very high. Why? I flew back from Paraguay to Dubai, and then I was jet lagged. So that's a 15-hour flight, not including the time you fuck around at the airport. Then you come back to the apartment. I haven't been here for several months. Things need to be fixed. Then I'm jet lagged for 3 days. My off was pretty high. But in that case, it's okay. Make sense? Because I had a reason that I was off. Now, if I have a high off week and I go, why was I off? And I have no idea why. And I go back and I look at my schedule the prior week and I go, well, I didn't travel. I didn't have any problems. What's going on here? And then I go, oh, I spent too much time with women last week. Shit. So now I know. So the next week going forward, I go, okay, last week we fucked this up. Don't do that again. Pay attention. And I'm constantly course correcting to maximize my week.
Here's my example of that. My dog learned how to open the door. I have not spent enough time with my dogs over the last week.
Oh,
and
my
I saw
God.
that in my time tracking because I was sick. So we didn't go on very many bike rides. And now they are like not ever going to leave my side again.
Yeah, but
I'm
to her
tracking.
point, you were sick. You were sick.
I
That's a
was
valid
sick.
reason to have a fucked up week. You're still sick. I can hear it. Right.
I am. But, so I get tangible reminders of that. But in your working life, you don't. You have to create them for yourself. And that's exactly what Caleb's talking about doing, is that tangible reminder. How much time did I spend on the things that are important to me? How much time did I piss away on the things that are not important to me? Equally important to identify. And Caleb will talk about that once he moves on to delegating. But like I said, maybe if you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you have obnoxious dogs, you have some tangibles. But if you don't, please create them.
Yeah. And again, this system gives you real numbers so you can't bullshit yourself. People are so unaware. And I shouldn't say people, all of us, myself included. You can't, if I asked you, hey, last week, how many hours you think you spent really actually working on your computer for real on real productive shit? You have no fucking idea. You can say, oh, I bet, 42 hours. Bullshit. And I've also talked about this. You track employees and just normal workers, 9 to 5 workers. It's an 8-hour day. The average employee, I believe the number gets 3.2 hours of actual work done in an 8-hour day. All the other shit is taking breaks and calling their kids at home and gossiping with their coworkers and working on stupid shit. They're not getting any fucking work done. So when I'm doing work, when it shows that I'm doing work, I'm timing it. I'm literally doing real work. So if it shows I have real work, all my work categories added up, 8.5 hours, that is triple the equivalent of the typical worker who gets about 3 hours in an 8-hour day. Does that make sense? So the typical worker puts in an 8-hour day, gets 3 hours of work done. If it shows I have 8 hours of work done, that's 8 hours of work done. I'm triple as productive, because if I start, here's the point, and I'm honest about this with myself. If I'm working and I start drifting and I go, let's check out Instagram. Okay, let's look at some of my girls on Instagram or whatever the hell I'm doing. Okay, and I stop working. It's a habit for me. I go over and I press the button. I hit off, and I fart around on social media or watch some YouTube videos, and I go, I got to get back to work. I get back to work and I click content creation again, and I'm 100% honest about that, or else it fucks up all my reports. So the work that I'm showing is real work, not I was at the office. When people say, I worked 8 hours today, I worked 9 hours today, you were at the office 9 hours, or you sat in front of your computer for 4 hours. You didn't work for 4 hours. Most of you, as I talk about on another channel, paleo-compatible dopamine, and you get distracted, most of you listening to the sound of my voice don't have the ability to sit and work for 3 hours straight without taking a break, do you? So just because you were sitting in front of your computer for 3 hours doesn't mean you were working. So that's these numbers tell you. Does that make sense? Okay, now, I will give you, these are my examples. You don't need to copy these, but these are my time categories customized for me. You should take these categories and customize them for you, okay? So here are all the categories I'm currently tracking. Every 6 to 8 months, I modify these because my life changes. I have a very dynamic, reasonably complex lifestyle. So I change these as time goes on. I may delete one. I may take one and break it into 2 categories. So if you ask me in 8 months what my time categories are, they're going to be a little different than today because I'm growing and changing and evolving. So here are my categories. Listen to a particular exercise, morning routine. So that's a time category. So that includes taking a shower in the morning, doing my TRT shots. What else that include? Doing my morning procedure for like my anti-aging stuff that I do, making my bed, crap like that. That's my morning routine. Okay. And I have goals. I don't want that to be more than about 40 minutes every morning. I want to get to work. Okay. Morning routine. Off. Off means I am not working and I am not exercising, and it's not part of my morning routine. Now, what I've thought about is breaking that out into another category called productive off, which is where I meditate and maybe read a book and do my stretching stuff. All the stretching is exercise. So anyway, for the moment, it's just a category called off. So if it says off and it's like, 12 hours in a day, that's way too much off. That's not good. Next one I have is buffer. That's SW work. And so what I do is I have buffer time in the morning. So my work routine, those of you who sign up for my immersion service, you'll see me do this 4 days in a row. You'll watch me live video of me doing this. When I sit down on my computer, the first thing I do is that I respond to comments on my social media and stuff. Only takes a few minutes. That's one of another category called engagement. I have a category called engagement, which means I'm responding to comments on all of my social media and blogs. It's only a few minutes a day. So I have engagement. Then I go over to my email, check my email. I go to my Basecamp. I check all my Basecamp stuff. And then depending on the time zone, I do a cache analysis for the day. So that's my buffer work for the day. Okay. And then I go on with non-buffer work. What I do is I take Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's where I allow all my meetings. So all my team meetings, if I do one-on-one coaching, if I do 9-day business builder meetings with some exceptions, I drop all those into Monday and Wednesday. When are my live streams? Mondays and Wednesdays. So I know on Mondays and Wednesdays, we're doing a lot of buffer work, and that's okay. But that's 2 days a week. The other 5 days I have as minimal buffer. I do a little buffer in the morning, and the rest of the day is hopefully IW or close to it. Okay. Next category is client implementation. This is when I am doing something for someone who has already paid me money. So if I do a 90-day business builder session, which I just did 2 hours ago, I did an hour and a half of client implementation. If I'm doing consulting for my consulting clients, whatever I'm working with them or work on that's client implementation. If I do any one-on-one coaching, client implementation. Okay. Client implementation is interesting. I have some in my schedule, but I don't want it to overwhelm my schedule, because I've fallen that trap before, is that when you're someone like me, I could just rack up coaching clients and consulting clients all day long and get nothing else done. It's happened to me at least twice in my career, where I was doing all this coaching and consulting and I couldn't grow my business. So I have limits on my client implementation. And long-term, my goal is to reduce my client implementation, get that down smaller, maybe not to zero, but smaller. Content creation. Someone just asked, what category are you currently tracking right now? This is content, right? This is a podcast. This is also a video. This is also a live stream, right? So this is content. So when I do YouTube videos, live streams, I write blog posts, when I write my newsletter, any content I'm creating for free. Okay. So that's content creation. Next one is engagement. I already talked about that. Expansion. That is anything I do that will increase my income. That's a catch-all. So examples, when I optimize my sales funnels, when I increase my advertising, that's a lot. Those two things are very big. When I A/B split test a new website, when I improve a website, a sales website, when I improve a sales process, when I improve a marketing process, all that is expansion for me. Okay. Next one I have is product. Product is when I improve or create, if I create a new product or improve an existing product. So right now I'm writing a new book. So that's product time. It's not content. Content's free. Product is more IW than content. Content is high quality SW. When I talk to Billy or Jeff or the other coaches in 90-Day Business Builder about improving 90-Day Business Builder, that's not buffer time. That's product time, because we're improving the product, which is super duper important when you have a service-based business, service coaching or consulting, which is what we recommend you have. You want to constantly be improving and iterating on the product. I mean, Billy and I have talked about this. We iterate Business Builder, damn near every quarter, if not every month, we improve it.
It's almost every conversation that we have when the three of us get together. We're always making improvements.
Right. Correct. So that would be product time. What else? There's some other category. I think that's it. Engagement, product. Oh, warm marketing. Warm marketing is, I'll talk about this. This is a little complicated. This is very inside baseball for Kayla's business, but I'm telling you, I'm just disclosing all this to you so you can use this as an example. Warm marketing is when I market to my existing warm audience. So I have a mailing list of a lot of people. If I send an email, or I have one of my email copywriters send an email to you guys on my mailing list that sells a thing, especially if that thing is mine, that's warm marketing. So if I design an email right now that would go to my warm list, marketing 90-Day Business Builder, to my warm list, is it content? No. Is it expansion? No, because it's not going after a cold audience and expanding the audience. It's just cultivating the warm audience. So it's warm marketing. So it's important, but it's different than expansion. I'm not expanding my audience. I'm nurturing my existing audience. I had to break those out into two different categories because many years ago, I considered warm marketing as IW, and it isn't. It's not. You're just monetizing your existing list. You're not you're not growing the size of your customer base. That's expansion. That's IW. Now, does that mean warm marketing is not important? It's hugely important, but it's in a different category of time usage. So in other words, if I look at my given week, my past week, and I see there's lots of warm marketing, there's lots of buffer, there's lots of content creation, and there's no expansion, that's bad. That's bad for me. Why? Because I'm in the process of scaling my companies. So that's really bad. So and sometimes I have weeks like this. So if I have a week like this, I have to ask myself some hard questions. Caleb, why didn't you get 22 minutes of expansion last week? So first I'll look at the total hours I work. So what I'll do is what he does in the spreadsheet, it adds up all the work categories and gives me a total hours of work and an average number of hours worked per day. So the first thing I'll do is, was I not working that hard? And if I look, I see I was working that hard, then that's a time management problem. Why were you not focusing on on expanding your businesses? If I look at my average work hours and it's like 4.5 hours, that means my off was too high. Then I go, why was my off too high? And hopefully I was traveling. I have a good reason. And sometimes I have a good reason and sometimes I don't. Usually I do. I'm a pretty hard worker.
Let me interrupt, Caleb.
Yes, please.
Because
please. Interrupt whenever you want.
So I use this so differently than Caleb does. As if you know me, you know I'm kind of lazy. So I like having free time and fun time. That's really high on my list of importance right now. I'm not as concerned about growth as Caleb is. We're just in different mindsets about these things.
Right. Correct.
But what I use for the granularity of capturing these tasks is, why is the CEO doing this? If it takes me an hour a day to respond to emails,
right.
In any of the other company I was leading or consulting, would I allow the CEO to throw their money away in this fashion?
Right.
And the answer is always going to be no.
Right.
Almost always. There are very few things that only we can do. There are some, but very, very few. A lot of that is ego driven. So for me, it's looking for the opportunity to get things off of my plate or off of the plate of other team members, where it's eating away at time, eating away at the opportunity to do the IW, because we're keeping our heads stuck in the routine and the known, which is doing any work that comes across our desk. And it's not a smart way of working. It's a smart way of burning yourself out, which is the exact opposite of what we want. So in my case, I use this to show me what are the important things. What are the things that I should be delegating because it's costing too much money for me to be doing it? Mm-hmm. And something that you didn't bring up, Caleb, what are the things I'm procrastinating doing? I can capture that in my reporting when I see day after day, I didn't touch this task. I might have been thinking about it. It might be weighing on my brain, especially as somebody with ADHD who sometimes really struggles with executive dysfunction. It'll be on my mind. I'll be kicking my own ass, but have I done anything? The answer is usually no. But by putting that down on paper, putting that in the ether somewhere where I'm aware of it, it allows me to ask for help and to make those first steps. That can be really hard sometimes, even though it doesn't make any damn sense at all. But it's like something Caleb said earlier in the conversation, it's having an awareness. So if you're aware that you're putting something off, if you're aware that something's taking you a hell of a lot longer than it should, there's a reason for that you need to investigate. And then you need to make a change.
Yeah. The way that I see that is, this is separate from what the system, this is a different system I use. I have a project list. I have a spreadsheet with all this stuff. And so I have active projects that need to get done. And if I see projects that just hang out there week after week and they're still on the project list, that's my red flag. Like, why is this getting done? Caleb, everything in your life is your fault. So I blame me first. I don't blame my team first. I blame me first. And then if there's team blame, then I do that secondly. But I look at myself first. I say, wait a second. What the hell? Why is this? I just had this experience 2 days ago. Look at my project list. There's 2 items on. I'm like, Caleb, why is that still there? It's been there for fucking 6 weeks. This should have been done. So that's another thing too, right? What is not getting done? Where's your time going, and what is not getting done? Those are the 2 pieces, right?
I would add that one of the ways that I prioritize, which is a little bit different than what you mentioned earlier, which is writing a list for yourself. If, again, you're someone like me who can struggle with executive dysfunction, I can tell Caleb what to do all day long, right, Caleb? No, I can set these things out in a very clear, granular fashion for other people. Sometimes I struggle to do it for myself. So this is where I have a Muhammad, Caleb has a Billie. We all have these different resources in our lives to help us prioritize. So I can say, Muhammad, I just want you to put the top 4 things that you want me to get done tomorrow on the list. And he will make sure that the deadlines are exactly what I asked for. There'll be 4 things due. If I do more than that, fucking great. If I'm not able to do that day, if there's something going on, regardless of where I am in my little head and what I'm able to accomplish, I always know that there's somebody kind of watching, if you will. Not only is he giving me the assignments, but he's this extrinsic pressure. He's not applying any pressure, mind you. He just
He's just
exists.
there.
Exactly.
He's there, and
But
you know he's there.
knowing
Right.
that he's
Right.
there, you do this too, and I've seen it plenty of times. Knowing that I'm there, kind of looking over your shoulder, waiting for something, puts a
Yeah.
different pressure on that is
Good point.
really can be a very positive pressure.
Good point. So my operations manager, Osher, he sees these reports every week because he puts them together. So if I'm totally slacking off for weeks on end, which I don't do, but if I did, he'd see it, and I know he'd see it. Now, he's not my boss. It's the reverse. But the fact that someone else has their eyeballs in this stuff, yeah, I mean, if you want to go hardcore at this thing, I've considered this, like publishing this, at least internally to my entire team, saying, hey, entire team, here's how hard I'm working, just so I know my whole team is looking at this. Now, I'm not, again, I'm a pretty hard worker, so I don't have to do that. But if you need accountability, especially if you're working with a coach, or I don't recommend you using partners, but someone else in your life you're using as an accountability buddy or something like that, you can use that model, because Billy's right. If you know when you're timing all this stuff, someone else is going to see this besides you, they're like, oh man, ugh. When you take that time off, you're thinking like twice a little bit. Yeah. So it really helps a lot. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't think of that. Now
I think it's really important because somebody brought that up in the chat. You know, how do we track these things? What if we don't want to stay on track? It's normal. It's really normal. And it's totally okay. But get help. If you know that you're going to struggle, set yourself up for success. That's all we're teaching you here. And that's all that time management is. And I think that's the other reason, Caleb, that when we started working together, we were thought partners. Asher is your assistant. Muhammad is my assistant. But they're also our thought partners. These are not just like, this isn't the dude who goes and gets us coffee, right? These are the dudes that sit behind us, sit next to us, and that we bounce things off of, and that hold us accountable. Because as entrepreneurs, we need that as much as anyone else, if not more, because we tend to bite off very big projects. We tend to have very big ideas, and to drive those to completion rather than just ideation and 70%. Takes having a thought partner. It takes that someone who's going to help you push the project over the edge, the finish line.
Accountability is really important. Even at my level, I am part of a coaching program that I pay them, where I meet with a coach and 3 or 4 people every weekday. It's only like 10 minutes, but we go through what I'm going to accomplish for the week, what I need to do in the next 24 hours, and did you do what you promised yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
I do this 5 times a week, and that's the only reason I do it, is to have someone else besides Billy and Osher. I have a number of people looking at my stuff, but I want to see as many people look at my stuff. So again, it goes back to, so I can't bullshit myself. I can't say I'm working hard when I have other people looking at what I'm doing, and I have hard numbers that tell me where I'm focusing. Because so many people BS themselves about how hard they work, and you're not working nearly as hard as you think. You're just stressed out and thinking about Trump. You're not working hard. So that's why I do it. To Billy's point, it's exactly why.
And one of the other points that was made is that this seems like micromanagement.
Yes, it does. Yeah. That's what I said earlier.
Yeah, it does. To people like me, it seems like the biggest pain in the ass in the whole universe. But it's also the most useful pain in the ass that you're ever going to give yourself. So yeah, is it micromanaging? Yes, because how else do you understand what you're actually doing? How often do you actually track and deeply understand where the minutes in your day go? And I'm going to bet that unless you have an eidetic memory, and I know I sure as hell don't, you are not going to remember everything you did during the course of a day. There's not a chance. Don't set yourself up to need to.
Correct. And like I said earlier, if this seems like micromanaging to you, don't go to this extreme, please. What did I say 4 times? I'm a maniac. I'm an extremist with this stuff. You may not be me, and that's okay. Something else. Instead of doing this every day for the rest of your life, like I do, you do it. I've talked about this in my blogs, a time audit. You do this for 4 days or 5 days or even 3 days. You write down everything you do with a piece of paper or a spreadsheet. Every time you do something, you put in the time, and then as soon as you switch tasks, you note the time and say what you're doing next. And you do that for 3, 4, 5 days. That's it. Instead of every day. Now you have a real record of where you're spending your fucking time. And you're not bullshitting yourself. Now you have those numbers. So you do that too. Instead of oh my God, I gotta do this every day, Caleb. No, you don't have to. Do it, do a time audit, 3, 4 days, do it, twice a year. That's fine. It's okay, especially if your goals are smaller than mine. Again, this goes back to goals.
But it also becomes muscle memory. If you do this every day, it takes only a minute. It literally can take just
take me
a
any
couple of
time.
minutes.
I tap my finger.
It's like breathing. You don't think about it. I don't think about how to, answer my phone. I just know how to do it. Same thing happens with you.
Correct.
You're not even consciously aware.
Correct.
And yes, in some instances, we do both have our staff do time tracking. Now, your staffing situation is much different than mine because of the various entities that I work with. So depending on the entity, if it's in property management, for example, yep, I want to know exactly what building you were talking to. I want to know exactly which building you had to send maintenance teams out to and how much time they spent working on that sprinkler system, etc. I need granularity of everything. If you're Muhammad, who's my right-hand man, I don't need granularity at all. We've been working together a long time. With him, it's output-based. Does he still track his time for his own purposes? Absolutely, he does, because he has big goals too. What are yours?
Right. Excuse me. Oh, my God.
Oh, it's catching all the way from here?
I know. I'm catching it through Zoom.
Damn.
Let me explain to you what to do with the numbers once you have them and how you improve, and then talk about Business Builder very briefly, and we'll do your questions because I got to go soon. So what I have, I'm looking right at my sheet here, my weekly time tracking sheet. I have objectives on next to the numbers. I have my objectives right next to the numbers. So again, I can see exactly what is good and what is bad. So I'll read them to you. Expansion, 10 hours a week. So I want to have 10 hours a week in expansion every week. Now, if I get 7, okay, that's pretty good. 10, great. If I get 12, awesome. If I get 2, that's bad. But I want 10. And that's a lot. IW, you won't be able to do IW all day because you have content to create and you have teams to manage and, your bookkeeping and your products. So anyway, I have another category I forgot. I have another category I forgot to mention called on time. And Billy's mentioned this. I've talked about this. That is when I work on my business, not in my business. And that's Fridays. Friday, I set aside an hour. I do thinking time. It's from the book called The Road Less Stupid. It's one of the best business books I've ever read in my life. It's the guy who is the Real Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's Real Rich Dad. He wrote that book, The Real Rich Dad. And so I go through and I topic for another time. Maybe we'll do another live stream on it. I examine my assumptions about my business. Is this something is this actually what I think it is, or could it be something else? What is the problem that I'm not seeing? And I brainstorm and I ask these questions. I'm working on my business, not in my business. I track that as on time. So I have an objective for that. Buffer. So SW work, it says below 20% average daily. So I have a percentage here of every day of what percent was spent in buffer. And I need to see that at 20% or less. If it's more than 20%, every once in a while, fine. If there's many days in a row, so like here's 1 week, a month or two ago, and this is a very bad week. Sunday, 47% in buffer, bad. Monday, 38%. Tuesday, 94%. What the fuck was going on? That's bad. Wednesday, 27%, good. Thursday, 18%, good. Friday, 32%, not that great. So that's a pretty bad week. That was a heavy buffer week for whatever reason. Maybe I was traveling the week before and had to catch up. That usually is a reason. Things like that. But I have an objective for buffer. I don't want to see buffers 50% of my time. That means I'm not increasing my income. I'm just I'm treading water, and I don't want to tread water. Let's see. And then average off time. Average off per day. I want to minimize that. Now, Caleb, you want to minimize your time off? Yes, I'm a maniac. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. Set your own goals. So here's what you do. You take these numbers and you say, how can I improve? And what can I delegate? What can I delegate? So if I keep seeing weeks like this week where I was way too much buffer, you know what I would do? I'd sit down and whip out a spreadsheet, say, what can I delegate to other people on my team, or do I have to hire someone new? That's exactly. Once every 2 or 3 years, I have to do this, or
we have this
less,
conversation all the time.
all the time.
You and I, it's such a common thing.
Constantly, it's a constant problem. As you grow, more buffer work appears, and you got to delegate that, then delegate that, then delegate that. I'm always delegating all the time. You have to, or else you're going to be 100% buffer. By the way, the vast majority of human beings, including the vast majority of business owners, and 100% of all employees, spend 100% of their work time in SW. 100% of their 40, 50-hour week is SW. That's why they never increase their incomes other than their stupid 2% raises a year, unless they get a new job, because they're not spending any time in IW. That's how dangerous this is. And I know people who've been in SW for 25 years, and they make kind of the same amount of money they were making 25 years ago. I've like 10x'd my incomes more than once in the last 25, 30 years. And so is Billy. It's because we're focused on IW. Okay. Then once you outsource you delegate as much as your SW as you can, then you look at your marketing and your expansion stuff and you say, where can I delegate that? Because that makes money. And then I can delegate that on top of. So if you, generally speaking, I probably shouldn't say this. I can't say this publicly. Never mind. So anyway, my point is, you don't just delegate buffer. When you get to a certain level, you also delegate expansion, which means now you have multiple people growing your business for you, and they're benefiting too. So that's the final step.
But the order in which you do that might be different, right? So Caleb enjoys marketing. He's good at it. He enjoys it. This is a space he's been in for a long time. I've been in this space, but I don't enjoy it the same way he does. So I'm going to delegate that earlier. That's the kind of like SW.
Yeah, delegate what you hate first.
Yep. Delegate the things you don't like, or that piss away your time.
Yep. My goal, one of my big business goals that I'll probably never hit, but I'll get close, is to spend 90+% of my work time doing nothing but creating content, and that would include new products, and a little bit of time like monitoring. How's the marketing funnel going? Going well. How's Business Builder going? It looks good. And I'm spending the rest of my time content, because that's my superpower is content. I can sit here and do a live stream off the top of my head for 2 hours straight. I can write blog posts all day long. I can write books all day long. That's what I'm good at. So that's what I need to lean into is content. That's what's made me most of my money is content. So you lean into what you're good at.
I do not love. That's why I have a big coaching team.
A lot of people don't love that.
Right. Well, that's why I've surrounded myself with a team in a different way.
What is your superpower that makes you the most money that you like?
Honestly, it's putting puzzles together. So that means one of two things to me.
That's right.
Number one, it's creating events that kick fucking ass and that are very memorable. It's very easy for me. And the other thing is doing the same thing in businesses, picking them apart, understanding the different layers, and then reconstructing them in a way that works better. So it is literally just putting puzzles together. It is not.
So that's what Billy should lean into. That's what you should lean into. Is ideally you want to get to the point where you're doing most of that in the week. Now that's hard to do because there's so many other things that need to be done. But all of you, if you listen to the sound of my voice, you listen to me and Billy, there's something you are really good at, and that makes you the most amount of money, and that you like. And your goal in strategic coach, they call that your unique ability. There's all kinds of different terms for this thing, but it's that unique thing that you're really good at that very few people are good at. That's what you need to start moving in the direction for in your business, which is something you can't do in your job. You're not allowed to do this in your job. That's why jobs suck. Once you have a business and you're making money, you reorient all of your time to focus on as much of that thing as you can and minimize, not to zero, but to minimize everything else. Mm-hmm. And that's where you're happy and making a lot of money. It's awesome. So
it only happens though if you're aware of how you're spending that time.
That's right. It's exactly
and of the value of your time. Keep reminding yourself that I am the CEO, even if my company is one person and I'm making $200 a month. I am the CEO. If I can hire someone for $1 an hour to do some of these things, and get them off of my back, that is the best use of my time as a CEO. It doesn't matter the volume. What matters is strategically thinking in this way.
Correct. Because you'll never get there if you don't do these things or things like this. So I'll give you my example. Use your own example. We're all different this way. One of my idols in business is a man named Dan Sullivan. A lot of you know who he is. A lot of you don't. He's the guy that wrote Who Not How. I just mentioned Strategic Coach a few minutes ago. That's his program. Dan Sullivan, to be fair, he's in his 70s. He's an older guy. Dan Sullivan makes about $20 million a year income. That's not what he's worth. That's his income. He works 3 days a week, and all he does is create content. I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want that life. That's what I want. I mean, literally, he'll work 3 days a week in a cabin. He'll work 3 days a week in his office, and he and his wife will go for 4 days in a little cabin and just chill. Do that every week. And all he does when he works is pretty much he writes content because he likes it. That's what I like. 20 million a year or so. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get there or your equivalent. Now, like Billy said, and I have buddies, I hate writing content. Fuck content. Oh my God. Great. Whatever you like to do. Some of you like coaching. Some of you like teaching. Some of you like marketing, like doing funnels, are really big on that. Some of you like numbers. Whatever the fuck it is that you like, I'm repeating myself. That's what you lean into.
It's important.
Yeah, cool. Really quick, we'll answer questions. Billy, do you know when the next iteration of Business Builder starts? Is it November 2nd?
I believe so.
I think that's right. Okay. So I'm not going to bring up the slide because a lot of you already know this.
We'll just tell you how awesome it is, and then we'll tell you the date.
So I'll overview the bullet points, and Billy can tell you how awesome it is because Billy is intimately involved. You'll be seeing a lot of Billy and myself when you join the program. Some of you are already in the program. Let's see. Some of you are asking very inappropriate questions. So stop that.
So let me just answer those inappropriate questions.
Yeah, sure.
I am called Auntie Billy for a reason. I am completely off limits to anyone in Caleb's audience, as if.
And people have tried. I haven't tried, but we've had audience members try.
No, we've had plenty of audience members try. Caleb and I are completely not attracted to each other. We are like siblings. We are more like siblings than our real siblings. So that's what it is, boys and girls. Good fucking
Billy's my sister.
Yep. Billy's his prude sister. So watch out.
Yeah, Billy doesn't even like Alpha Male 2.0. She just like, ooh,
oh,
gross.
I laugh at you all. I think it's hilarious. Like, you should.
Well, we already had a guy.
We had a great time talking about it, but you're not the only one, Justin. We're not just ripping on you. We'd rather just put it up there in the ethos and say, like,
we have to address that every time. People, we had one guy ask if we were married a while back. Like, is that your wife? Like, no, my wife's been on a few YouTube videos.
There's no mistaking us.
Yeah. Or was I talking about? Oh, Business Builder. Okay. So Business Builder is now open. 90-day bizbuilder.com. Let me overview it for you really quick. I'm not going to show you the slide. I'm just going to overview it really quick. You work with us for at least 90 days, sometimes longer. So that is a 12-week program. That's why it's called 90 days. And it is for people who have not started business and have no idea where to begin or have a few little random ideas on how to begin. And we take you through the process where we literally give you assignments every week and we show you what to do and we make you do it nicely so that every week you progress. And at the end of the 90 days or close to it, you're making real money. You've got 1, 2, 3 clients. You're making several $1,000s. And then when you're out of the program, you just keep doing what you're doing. And you can quit your fucking job, which is what you need. And it's only location independent companies. For those you want to internationalize, you get 3 official plus an additional 2 unofficial live sessions per week from people like Billy and myself. These are not videos, recordings. These are live sessions that we teach where you ask us questions. 3 per week that are official plus 2 more per week that are unofficial for a total of 5. I think that's right. Right, Billy? 5. 5. Yeah. And you get that for 12 weeks plus. There are custom videos in there that show you how to do certain things that you can't get from any of my other products or any of my other bundles, just Business Builder. Plus, you get an accountability coach. You go into our base camp and you have access to that base camp for the rest of your life as a tool. So when you have trouble doing your assignments, you can reach out to your accountability coach. That's usually going to be Jeff. And you will also have access to 2 message boards. There's about 100 people in the program now.
More than
and
that.
you get advice from them. More than that? Okay. You get advice from them. We had guys recently say, I had a question, I posted the message board, and within 20 minutes, I got 3 awesome answers, and I knew exactly what to do. So you not only get help from the coaches of the program, we've got about 6, 7, 8 coaches in the program that have our own specialties, plus everyone in the message boards. And I have posted, if you go to 9daybizbuilder.com, I finally got around. It's my fault. I can't blame my team because it's my fault. Everything's my fault. All the testimonials and case studies we've put on that page, and we keep adding several a month. We've already seen a bunch, and a lot of them are on the YouTube channel now, of guys who made thousands and thousands of dollars within 90 days or close to it, sometimes within a few weeks. And these are all people who are brand new, who had never started a business their entire life. That's what Business Builder is for. So we should have you pick a niche. We show you how to pick the niche. We have you set up your website, your autoresponders. We show you how to get your first set of clients. We show you how to do niche research. And sometimes you get clients just doing that. You know, a lot of people do that.
It happens at least once a month.
What do you want to say about that really quick?
It's my favorite part. So we do this niche validation after we've helped you choose a niche, narrowing things down, which is a really fun process, by the way. It's my favorite bit. Then we do this really awesome outreach and validation. And we have coaches that do like 1 to 3 hour long sessions every week. They're not getting paid to do this. They do this because they're interested in doing it, keeping the conversation going and keeping that support going. So it's everything from like how to pick up the phone and call a stranger, which is something that people like myself don't like doing. And we really struggle. So, you know, we even have people in the program who are not of the coaching staff, who are doing their own sessions to help and supplement everything that we do as a group. It's pretty awesome.
90daybizbuilder.com. You can make payments if you can't afford the entire thing. If you make payments anywhere from 3 to 12 months, depending on what country you're in and your credit score, there is no interest on any of the payments. There's never any late fees on any of the payments. We want you to make a lot of money so that I can get a testimonial from you so I can sell more business builders. That's why I want you to make more money. This is the most important thing. 90-day business builder. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I tell the guys in business builder this all the time. Of all the companies I'm working on, of all the income streams I'm working on, I've got about 15 income streams right now. Of all of them, business builder is the most important one. It's the number one thing I'm working on right now. Number one. And it has been for quite a while. And it will continue to be for quite a while. It's my number one focus in my entire work life. And as you guys know, that's my most important part of my life is my work life, not my woman stuff. That's number 2. Work is number 1. That's my mission. So this is very important to us. And that's why we put all the time and effort into this program to make sure you make money. So it's 90daybizbuilder.com. Your deadline is 7 days before November 3rd. So what is that? October? Is that now?
It'll be next week sometime.
Let's see. Yeah, October 28th. So you have 1 week if you're listening to this live or the day it's published. So your next Monday. That's your deadline.
And I will double down and say that not only do you have Caleb and myself and Jeff, who is a freaking amazing accountability coach, there are 6, 7 other coaches from Boss Cooperative who come in and out to help you with everything from your mindset to making your first outreach calls to just staying accountable to someone, you know, and having support when you're feeling a little self-doubt. Because as we go through these unknown processes, we all feel some self-doubt at one point or another. And it's pretty amazing to have this 100 plus people there to support you. So
it's awesome.
It's
beyond what I thought it would ever be.
Legacy work. I never thought that my favorite work would be with this dude. But I love Caleb. He really is like a brother. And what we're doing together is really special. And it means a lot to both myself and Jeff. You all know Caleb's a robot without any feelings. But Auntie Billie has a really big heart. And I really care a lot about this. So this actually is my legacy work, especially since I'm allergic to children. Seeing these people grow and develop their their businesses and develop their independent lifestyle, whatever that means to them, is the most important thing that gets me out of bed in my life right now. This is my happy place. This is my joy.
Billy's
and you feel
comment
that
is
from
that
us.
Billy checks the base camp in Business Builder as her social media in the morning. Instead of going to Instagram, she goes to our 90-day Business Builder base camp and she checks all the messages.
It's so true. It's my dopamine hit in the
So
morning.
funny.
So I'm not doing some like doom scroll. I'm doing some hell yeah scrolling.
Yeah. 90daybizbuilder.com. You've got a week. Oh, here's something else.
Oh,
Should I say this? Let me think a minute if I should say this publicly. I always got to think these things through on live streams because I can't edit them out. Yeah. Let me tell you something. We are not going to do a new iteration of Business Builder in December.
that's right.
Okay. So guess what? This is your last chance to start the program until next year. This is it. Now you can sign up in December or November. You can sign up, but you're not going to start the actual program until January.
And we've
So
had to
starting
do
in
that.
November, we're not starting another one in December. We're taking December off.
We really had to do that so that we could make sure to give you guys the best quality. It's something that Jeff and I and the other coaches are really adamant about. And with the holidays in there, we wanted to make sure that you had the best bang for the buck. And we have so many people to serve that we just didn't want to gyp you at the end of the day.
We didn't want to shove a bunch of people in for the holidays. And I misspoke. I didn't say we're taking December off. If you're in the program or you sign up now, we're active in December other than the Christmas holiday. So that's not what I meant. What I meant is we're not starting a new class, a new wave. We call them waves in December. We're not doing it. We're doing this for November and that's it for the year. So this really is your last chance in terms of getting started this year. 90daybizbuilder.com. Okay. Let's get to questions. Caleb, what forms of media are least prone to propaganda, societal programming, or manipulation? That's kind of a trick question because they all are. The ones that have the least amount of those things would be independent internet media. But here's the problem. A lot of those independent websites are hard left or hard right or hard woke or hard Trump. So they're not immune to this, but that's the answer to the question is independent websites. What's the ideal percentage of SW and IW? I don't view it as a percentage because it depends on if you have a day job or not. What I tell people is, and Billy, you can respond however you want. What I tell people, you should start with a goal of 30 minutes a day if you can. 30 minutes a day. You do 30 minutes a day of IW 5 days a week, you're going to make more money. You're going to make more money. Not next week. It doesn't happen immediately. You got to be patient, but you will. And so that's why I say 10 hours. So 10 hours a week is 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So if I work 7 days a week, which I shouldn't, but I am, I'm being a bad boy right now. An hour and a half a day, that's a lot. So what percentage of your work, of your life is work and what percentage is leisure? You answer that first, Billy, because we have very different answers to that question.
I'm at like maybe 50-50. Maybe. It depends on the week you talk to me. I'm trying to be more of a hedonist and just have more fun and go and do some of the things that I haven't allowed myself to do or maybe couldn't for different financial or, different reasons. So I'm like, I just turned 50. I want to have some more fun in life. So I'm dialing it back. For example, I never work on Fridays. Never. It's not going to happen. I never work on Sundays. Never going to happen. I will give you my time on Saturday morning, but that has a limit and it has a hard stop. And the rest of the week, I work until about 1 p.m. I'm pretty rigid in that. I block off a lot of time for fun and for doing the shit I want to.
So that's her answer. And that's a good answer because there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on your goals and what you want in life. So Billy has very different business objectives than I do. That's how her and I are very different. My answer is, of my waking hours, 80 to 90% of my waking hours are involved in some way with my mission, which is kind of insane. And that 20% I'm not working, I have shit like exercising. Is that taking time off when you go to the gym? Not really. It's not working, but it's still productive. meditation. And then my free time really is my personal life, if you know what I'm saying. Wink, wink. You know what that is? So that's that. And my travel and my girl, my women. That's my personal time. That's
I just have more of a life than Caleb does.
much more. Most people do. Now, here's my deal is that's not sustainable for the rest of my life, right? So my objective, I've said this before, I have some big goals to hit by April of 2026. That's when I turn 54. There are there's about 4 or 5 numbers, and they're kind of formulas, a little complicated. It's not something I can just give you. I'm not going to say this publicly, but certain numbers I want to hit in my financial life by that date. When I hit those numbers, I'm going to be much more like Billy, which is going to be weird for me. I would like to cut back. I'd like to take 3 days off a week and work 4 days a week starting April of 2026. We'll see if I can do it. I think I can. What will probably happen is I'll hit the goals and I'll say, I don't think I want to take 3 days off. Maybe I'll take 2. And then the people in my personal life said, well, you said you take 3 days off. So that's probably what'll happen. So it's not going to be the rest of my life. It's only going to be for a time. I talk about in my other channel, the 3 phases of life: your breakout phase, your empire building phase, and your self-actualization phase. I am at the end of my empire building phase, and I'm not done. And I got to finish out that empire before I'm done, and I'm not done yet. So when I click into the next phase of life, hopefully April 2026, self-actualization phase, it won't be all about work. It'll be about other things. So now again, that's my example. Billy gave you her example. Come up with your example that is customized to you. We all want to make different amounts of money. We all have different goals. We're all different ages. We all have different priorities. Some of us have families. Some of us don't. Some of us are 5 flags. Some of us are fucked in the collapsing West. Whatever. Convert it to what you're doing. There's no right answer or wrong answer.
True. But this is where time blocking comes in, guys. We can allow ourselves this time because we block it off. We understand what needs to be done and where we can shake things up a little bit. And just because I'm in more of a self-actualization phase right now doesn't mean I'm not still empire building, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to go, commit to one phase and not be looking back and forth, etc. But what matters is that you get started and you bring yourself on that path. So to circle back, one of the guys asked about using like paper to write down the tasks and to write down what they're doing. Guys, the method that you use doesn't matter. In the same way that the outcome that you want isn't going to look the same as the outcome that Caleb and I want, the way you record information is going to be different. So if it works best for you to use a planner, and I remember going to those Franklin Covey, do you remember that back in the day?
Oh yeah, in the 90s, it was awesome.
Use the day planner and push your tabs.
Oh, it was so great. I love that shit.
I freaking
like
did
1996.
Total geek for it. If doing something like that's best for you, do it. A lot of us older people, especially, retain things better when we physically write it because we've gone through that physical process of transferring it from our brain to the paper. If that works for you, do that. If it works to use a different tool, a ClickUp, just a list, your calendar, it doesn't matter what it is. Use something. Start something.
Whatever resonates with you. So if you like writing on paper, some people do, write on paper. If you hate paper and prefer on your phone, which I don't, great. If you prefer a keyboard, which I generally do that. I do a combination. Most of my stuff is keyboard. I don't do any writing on the phone. I hate the phone because I want Blackberries to come back. I want that fucking keyboard. Smartphones suck for that keyboard. It's never been as productive. Anyway, rant over. I like the keyboard, but when I'm planning or writing out my goals, I want to write. That's me. So do whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong answer. Billy's correct. Do what works for you so that you'll do it.
Let's talk about, let's start from the bottom here. Matt is asking if the business builder is right for him or her, I'm guessing him, would like to provide AI voice as a customer service for appointment taking, but wants to find a niche that needs it. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh boy. Okay. Billy's about to kick your ass.
As your very loving business auntie, if you have an idea, but you are looking for the niche that needs it, it's a bad idea.
Correct.
Why do I say that? Because the best way to start a business is to find a problem that you can
First.
solve or improve upon, right?
Right.
The problem needs to exist before the solution. Because as
Correct.
Caleb is very fond of saying, a lot of fitness gurus look at gamer dudes in the basement and say, oh, these gamer dudes are so unhealthy. I want to make them fit. They really need it. I really see their need for this and the benefits I can provide them. Does that gamer in the basement give two fucks? Nah, dude, they really don't. They care about when the next con is coming up and they care about the next release of their favorite game. You know, that's what they care about. So we're trying to find a place to deliver a solution is backward, unfortunately, to the way that successful businesses are often begun.
Correct.
Now, most people start with the solution. That's why so many businesses, unfortunately, fail.
That's right. That's exactly right. They're trying to project what they want to do onto the marketplace. That's not how you make money unless you're very, very lucky and you can't emulate luck. The way you make money very, very fast is you find a narrow niche. You ask them what their big problem is, and then you do something to help solve or alleviate that problem. Now, at that point, at that third or fourth stage, you can bring aspects of yourself back into the solution. That's okay. We're not saying you divorce yourself completely, but you don't even think about yourself till that third, fourth phase where they say, this is the problem we need help with. And you go, okay, how can I, with my abilities, interests, experience, talents, help them solve or alleviate that problem? That's how you make money fast and solidly for the rest of your life. Instead of having a fun business for 2 years and you go out of business, which is what most people do.
Exactly. And the other thing I want to add is that most people who start a new business, not only are they providing the solution first, but they're trying to do something that's cool or sexy. Everyone wants to do something really cool.
Oh,
like
I know.
cryptocurrency bros. That just sounds so badass, right? It's a lot cooler than being like the garbage bin washing company.
Yeah.
The money is made usually in the less sexy things.
Brian Tracy's favorite quote he used to quote all the time is the number one. I don't know if this is true anymore. It might still be true. The number one business in the United States that creates the most amount of millionaires, if you were to pick one type of business, is dry cleaners. Does anyone want to start a dry cleaning business? No, because it's boring and stupid. You guys know who Cody Sanchez is, right?
We love
her entire business. She's awesome. Her and Layla Hermosi are like the two top women influencers. I mean, I watch their videos. They're both amazing. Her whole business is, and she's going to be a billionaire soon.
Oh,
she's making way more money than I thought. She buys like car washes and dry cleaning establishments and barbers, and she makes ass loads of money because that's where the money is in many cases. And you could use the internet equivalent of that. What's not very sexy in the internet that makes money, things like that. So, right. What are the best business models to get to $100,000 quickly? Consulting gets you from zero to the money is the fastest. Not everybody can be a consultant. So just be aware of that. If you can't be a consultant, what we always talk about in Business Builder, what I talk about publicly is coaching, consulting, or a service. Coaching, consulting, or a service. You can deliver them very quickly. They're extremely high margin. You don't need a lot of customers to make a lot of money, and you can charge high prices. Assuming you do it right, which means you are narrowly niched, addressing a problem the niche already has. And use coaching, consulting, or a service to address that problem. And if it's consulting, I just got off a session with the Business Builder guys. We talked about pricing for consulting, and I was talking about value-based pricing. That's how you can get 2 clients and quit your job. You get 1 client, you sign a $40,000 contract. You get another client, you sign a $65,000 contract. You quit your job. You got 2 customers. You can do it. I've worked with people personally who've done this in my other program, in my consulting stuff. Now, if you can't, I can't be a consultant, I'm dumb. Coaching, service. Which are almost as good.
Service. You don't need any special skills. All you need to have is like an 8th grade education, and we can help you set up a pretty fucking killer service business.
Right.
Coaching and consulting, you need to have more of a special skill.
Generally speaking, yes. Now you can outsource it though. You can hire people on Upwork as technicians to implement your coaching stuff. You can do that. Not coaching, consulting, not coaching. You can't outsource coaching. Consulting, you can outsource aspects of it, maybe. Depends what you're doing. How do you marketing for clients on LinkedIn when your profile is clearly representing the company you work for? How do I modify? I message a prospect on LinkedIn for my service and they comment on the company I work for. You know what? I wouldn't market that way. If you have a job and your boss is looking at your LinkedIn profile, then I wouldn't market for clients on LinkedIn. I'm sorry. I wouldn't do that. Or I would delete that stuff off your LinkedIn and revamp your whole LinkedIn. By the way, I'm doing this myself this month. Revamp your whole LinkedIn to make it compatible with your market. But I can't. My boss will get mad at me. Then you can't market with LinkedIn, so you quit your job. I'm sorry. There's 10,000 other ways to get clients besides LinkedIn. Although I agree LinkedIn is good. Mention warm networking to get clients. Yep, Billy's really good at that. What are the ways in doing that, just like the guy above or LinkedIn? You want to take that, Billy?
I think I need you to reiterate that question because I didn't follow it.
That's fine. Mentioning warm marketing to get clients. What are the ways in which he can use warm marketing to get clients? And summarize your answer because we got to go soon.
Sure. Talk to people that you know. Tell them what you're doing. Go to meetings. If there are groups, if there's an Elks Lodge or a Morning Optimist or a Toastmasters, become involved in those local endeavors and just let people know what you're doing. Be prepared to give people that 20-second pitch and explain what you do in an engaging way, no matter where you are. As Jeff in the program likes to say, he can tell people on a ski lift, and the time it takes to ride to the top of a mountain so he can snowboard back down, what he does and make a connection.
Right. Precisely. That's a really good,
Even if you're uncomfortable, I hate talking to strangers. I just make myself do it and practice it. Surround yourself with people who will support you in doing that.
My personal code has 97 tenets. My God, I developed it over several months and narrowed it down to the most essential aspects of all my SLA. Is that too much? In my opinion, yes. What do I say in the code, in the book, Unchained Man, about your code? The least amount of rules on there. Here's the problem with having 97 rules for your life. You won't remember them.
Nope.
You remember 97 rules? You won't. It's hard enough to remember 10. No, I think I have 7.
Yourself. I mean, honestly, you're going to disappoint yourself by having a code of 97 bullet points.
You're being too anal and too completist.
Yep. You can't hold yourself or anyone else to that. So if you couldn't hold someone else to that list, how could you hold yourself?
Right. If you plan your week on Sunday, don't you need your, quote, friends to respond instantly in order to schedule them in? I have a system. I don't want to talk about it on this channel, but I have a system for that. My friends are very reliable because they're all very long-term people at this point, and they understand my models, and they understand how important my time is to me, and they can't fart around. If you're dating lots of random girls, then it becomes difficult, yes, but I don't do that, and I haven't done that for many years.
Auntie Billy's solution to that, don't be a douche. It's pretty easy to handle these things if you're not a douche. That's all. Right. And communicate.
How do you make your time? Okay, we're going to answer that question. Okay, we're going to answer that question. When you travel, what are good hotels to use? TripAdvisor discounts or Airbnb? I need a good place to concentrate for hours. Billy, you want to take that?
It depends on what you like. I love boutique hotels. I tend not to stay in big chains because they're boring, soulless, and you don't know where you are. I like to find neighborhoods that are quiet. Just do a little research. It's not that
neighborhoods are quiet.
A virtual walk around the neighborhood to check out what shops or little coffee boutiques are there, places where you can set up to work. Do a little bit of work. It's not that hard. Or you can use a company like Symmetry Lifestyle Concierge or similar companies that will help you figure that stuff out and do your bookings for you. It's a little, it costs something, but it's worth it if you don't want to do that work yourself.
Caleb, would you say having a guilty pleasure you sometimes engage in to wind down and have non-destructive form of escapism is helpful for long-term success and sustainable productivity? Yes. Now, you don't do it all day. So you don't play video games for 8 hours straight. I've talked about this. So when I say this, people misconstrue these things. So even when I used to play video games, I stopped in 2018 because I want my money. But even before that, when I played video games, famously, I've said this, I'd set a 1 hour timer. I'd play my video game, Pillars of Eternity 2, or Alien Isolation, or Civilization 5. See, I'm getting excited to even talk about this. But the timer would go off, finish what I'm doing, save my game, get back to fucking work. Fine. You know what I do now? I don't play video games now. You know what I do now? This sounds silly. Maybe I'll do a walkthrough. When I do the immersion service, you guys doing the immersion, you'll see this. I build Legos.
Do you really?
I'm Star Wars Legos.
You know what's hilarious?
One right now.
One of my high school friends, the first boy that ever asked me to dance, actually was on Lego Masters Series 2.
Oh, that's so funny. The reason I do Legos is because it's simple. It engages the building part of the brain, which is a different part when you're creating content. It engages the they talk about this in Colby. The engineering part of your brain, which I don't really experience a lot of because I don't build machineries and things, but that clicks into there and it takes my brain completely off of it. I don't build Legos because I want to build Legos. I do it because it's relaxing. Some people, women and some men do gardening. Gardening's awesome. That kind of stuff. You're outside. It's a completely different modality. Now, do I build Legos 8 hours a day and worship all my Legos and do YouTube videos? No. For a few minutes, 15 minutes, I'm back to work. Or 20 minutes or half an hour and I'm back to work. Or if I'm on the phone, like a personal call, I'll do the Legos because I'm on the phone. Or I'll listen to an audiobook, whatever. So so the answer is yes.
You need them.
You want something that is your downtime. I also have my woman life as my downtime because that is stress relief and all. Is that good? That's good. That's my hobby. So I do that too. But the answer is yes, as long as you don't go crazy.
So, and I think the answer also depends on the season of the year, right? So my guilty pleasures change on the season. It's going to be winter here. So my guilty pleasure transitions to doing more indoor things, hanging out with people that I don't see normally, right? In the summer, it's gardening because I'm a dork and I like to walk around my property and like eat fruit from different things as I walk around. And I do a lot with my dogs, take them to the beach or take them bike riding. It depends on the season, but allow yourself that. You need that. You need those outlets.
Yep. Going outside is really important.
Plan that into your schedule. In fact, I had one client in Southern California who would put in his calendar time to go swimming because he lived on the beach in SoCal.
Awesome.
And he had an assistant, and his assistant would be booked to be on the beach just watching him.
Perfect.
Just making sure nothing happened so that he could cut loose and do his thing. They would go for one-wheel rides as well. And his assistant, he just asked him, just stay behind me. Please don't talk to me. I just want to have this time, but I want to know that I'm safe. If something were to happen, I'm not stranded, etc.
Cool.
For him, that was a guilty pleasure, but it was also a mind-clearing activity, which is what's so important about having those guilty pleasures. Do I think as many of you should engage in sex as one of your only recreational activities as Caleb does? Absolutely not. I think that there are plenty more things to be done in life. That it's sad to be that limiting and that led by your penis. But again, that is a decision for each of us to make, for each of you to make. No. I don't have one. But
you're led by your penis.
Have different outlets and make sure that they're healthy.
No, just have sex. Just have sex.
Get a life,
really
dude.
So mad.
God, you've got to get a life. That's so basic.
Just have sex. Sex is, you don't need any hobbies. Just have sex with lots of girls. Right, Billy?
No girls for me, thanks.
Oh God.
Oh God. You guys should see us at dinner making fun of each other. It gets better.
When breaking bad habits, what approach do you recommend? Weaning yourself off or cold turkey? That is a very big topic, and I've been reasonably successful, about 100% successful. As you could probably tell by my face, I'm still overweight, so I have some bad habits when it comes to eating food. But other habits I've eliminated. I don't eat sugar anymore. So that's a very big topic. When I eliminated sugar from my diet last year, I went cold turkey. 6 weeks with no sugar and no bread. And it sucked, but it worked. It worked for sugar cravings. So when I go through a store now and I see Snickers bars, I don't want them. And before I'd be like, ooh, Snickers bars. However, it didn't work with bread for some reason. If I see pizza, I'm like, oh yeah, oh, give me some of that. Or bagels. But it doesn't, so big topic. I think you should go cold turkey, but it really depends.
It depends. There are so many variables involved. But either way, I think the most important thing is to get some support. Talk to people who are, who have similar experiences. Find a network of people who understand what that's about. And go through. It's easier to go through these struggles with other ears and with other advice coming in than what we hold in our own heads.
Accurate. I always forget that, but that's true.
Find a community of some kind. It does help. Even if it sounds cheesy and beta, If you're alpha enough to take care of yourself, that makes you a real alpha.
No, alphas need communities too. So yeah, no. How do you evaluate, Billy? You might want to take this one because I don't have an answer. How do you evaluate whether or not you actually have a learning disability or not? You know the answer to that question or not? We're not experts in that.
I guess my answer to this question is going to be we all have learning disabilities. They present in many different ways, and they're based on our own experiences and our own. Cognition is only part of an understanding, right? There's a lot more that ties into it. So, firstly, I'd remind yourself that each of us has shortcomings. I think that's a better way of putting it, or aspects of ourselves that we'd like to improve, and that's cool. That's okay. Wanting to improve something or wanting to learn more or be better is what makes us human, and acting on that is what makes you a strong human. So if you're really concerned that maybe you're dyslexic, if you're like me and you're on the autism spectrum, if you're concerned about these things, seek medical and psychological help. To people like us, it may feel weak at first, but getting that help allows you to really break through free of a lot of unhealthy misconceptions and self-doubt. So if you're really concerned about this, reach out to admin at Boss Cooperative. I'm happy to, we're happy to communicate with you. We're happy to point you in the direction of some professionals. But definitely know that you're not alone. All of us have some shortcoming, something that
Billy, what's your email address? What is your email address? Say it slowly.
I'm sorry. Admin at bosscooperative.com.
Admin, ADMIN?
Correct.
Okay. Boss Cooperative, you guys know, is Billy's company. One of her 9 companies.
It's only 8 now.
Only 8 companies. Yeah. One of her 8 companies. Yeah. Right.
I know.
All right. Moving on. Caleb, what do you think of the idea of joining the military as a young man to learn discipline and accountability? I would not do that now because of the military being deployed all over the planet. And that could end really bad in a warlike, unstable era in which we live now. Really quick, very quickly. When I graduated high school, graduated in quotes, I didn't graduate. But when I completed high school in 1990, a friend of mine wanted to join the Army literally for that. Discipline, accountability, easy income. That was 1990. What happened in 1991? The first Iraq War. He was disabling a landmine in Iraq and it blew him to pieces. He's dead. So, is the world more volatile now than it was in 1991? Yeah, by far. So I don't think it's a good idea. I know that what's his name recommends that. The asshole consultant guy. I like him. I forget
to any of you guys who shout. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I don't remember his name. Anyway, my answer is no. In Toggle, did you create an extra category called off, or is off time simply referring to the timer isn't running? No, I made a category. This is for me now, Caleb the Maniac. I made a category called off. I didn't do it the other way because I want to see the number of when I was off. No, I didn't want to fuck around with that. So I made a category called off. And whenever I'm not working or not exercising or it's not my morning routine, I'm going on off. And, there'll be times like today we had some problems in my bathroom and some repair people had to come and I had like 2.5 hours straight of off. Yeah, it sucks. Sucks for me, but so no, I made it off. How much is the Armenian? What's that?
That's really clever. I haven't done that one. It's a step too far for me, I think.
Yeah, that's only for maniacs only, for hypermaniacs like Caleb. How much is the Armenian social security number and home address add-ons for the citizenship? It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $400. It's not much or less. You have to have residency first. So you get residency, you add on to your residency. Okay. So I think it's like $400 and it's cheap. I'm glad I freed 50 hours plus from slaving. I can now finally be accountable to a 90 business. Is that an advantage? Wait a minute. I learned just a couple of weeks. I also learned options from just twice a week. Also do 90 business builder full time. So this is Mario. Can I also learn the options trading skill with Henry just twice a week, a couple hours, and do 90 business builder full time? Is that possible? If I understand your question correctly, you quit your job. So if you quit your job, yeah, I don't recommend you work on 2 businesses at once. I don't. I just don't. I don't. 2 businesses that are starting from zero. You could have multiple companies. You should, but you put one on maintenance mode that's already making money, and then you scale the next one. and you put that on maintenance mode and you go back to the first one. But starting 2 businesses at once, I don't recommend. But I have said, if you have no job and you don't have a wife and kids and you got all this time, it's technically possible. I just wouldn't do it. How do you figure out that unique strength of yours to focus most of your resources on? You probably already know it. How do you find out what you're uniquely good at when you feel like you don't really excel at anything?
This is
I've
where
never had that.
one-on-one coaching. I think one-on-one coaching is probably the most beneficial thing. If you're truly struggling to identify what your own gifts are, that's okay. Because most of us are too close to what we're gifted in to understand why it is special.
Yeah.
So my example to that is I can view a business as an exploded drawing, like an engineer would make, of like a complex system, right? Let's just imagine it's an engine. I can view a business as like all these exploded little bits and pieces, like an engine. Most people can't do that, but I didn't know that until I started working with people and having these conversations and saying, well, how do you do it when the pieces don't fit right? And they say, Billy, what the hell are you talking about? No one thinks that way. Right. I didn't recognize some of my own gifts until other people told me that it was unusual. It's very likely that you're in the same situation.
Good idea. I don't have insight on that because when I was in 7th grade, literally, so 6th grade, so how old is that? 11, 12? When they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone said, I want to be a rock star. I want to be an attorney or an astronaut. I said, I want to be a writer. So I already knew what I was good at or what I wanted to do. I'd read Lord of the Rings. I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this. And then I read business books. I'm like, oh my God, I want to write business books. This is so awesome. So I never had that problem, but Billy had to give you a good answer. Question about your Canadian clients who moved to Paraguay. Do they open their U.S. LLC banking before or after foregoing Canadian residency? Well, most of the people who move from Canada to Paraguay don't do that at all. It's not a requirement. If you move from Canada to Paraguay, you open a U.S. bank account. So the vast majority don't do that. That's in terms of when they do it. I don't know. I can't remember anyone who's done that. I think I know one
a
or
lot
two
of people are doing it before they do the residency.
Well, there's tax he's asking because there's tax ramifications in Canada, I think.
Exactly. That's why they're opening the U.S. LLC to circumvent.
But there's tax ramifications in terms of before or after you forego the residency. And I don't know what the answer is.
I believe it's best done before you forego the residency because that shows it. Correct. Now, again, this is not legal advice. This is based on conversations I've had with our legal teams. So take it with a grain of salt, as they say.
Right.
But my understanding is that there is a benefit to doing that prior to making a shift in residency.
Yeah, that's a Vincenzo question, but I think Billy is right. Yeah. Can you explain how does time blocking your version work? So it's pretty simple. What I do is I block out a time, if I can, of 2-hour blocks. Again, though, I control my paleo-compatible dopamine, so I can sit and work for 2 hours straight without needing a break. A lot of normal humans today can't because of their phones. Their phones have fucked them, and they need a break every 20 minutes. So as long as you're able to do it, you think you can do it, you set a timer and you go. So I have 2 hour. I do have 2 hour. I call block time, 2 hours of block time, and I have a specific task or set of tasks to work on that time. Either it's one thing like write 2 blog posts or write 2 hours of your book, or it's a to-do list of items. Optimize this funnel. Do this, do this, do this, and do this. And don't stop until you get all this done or 2 hours is gone. Then you can stop and take a break. And that's what I do. And it's also work dependent. So if I'm doing lots of SW work, if I'm checking email and calling a bank and doing my base camp, I might need a break in 45 minutes because I hate it. or an hour and a half. But if I'm writing, I can write for 3 hours. So it depends the type of work. That's what talk about. What's it called? Flow state. Getting on a flow. I can flow state my work if I'm writing. I can't flow state if I'm doing SW.
And there are some of us who go into hyperfocus and have an avoidant task reaction. So different methodologies work for different people. We just experiment until we land on the thing that's right. But my time blocking is the same. I'm just not quite as rigid as Caleb. So I know that on Monday, Wednesdays, I'm open for meetings until noon. That's it. So my time is blocked for that. And I can fill in the blanks with anything I want. But I also have time blocks during the day that are adjustable. And that's for me, like, I just need to walk away because I'm sick of doing this. I'm bored. I'm hangry because I'm having trouble feeding myself because of executive function, right? So it just depends on what my state is. If I'm having a hard time focusing, I'm going to take more breaks throughout the day and give myself slightly longer breaks where I'm doing something much more physical. And other times I might just run down to the mailbox.
I am the opposite. And I'm not going to talk about this live stream. Probably not going to talk about this publicly ever. If you guys do my immersion thing, I'll show you exactly how I do this. I plan the entire day by 15-minute blocks, the entire day, all my waking hours. And then I put alarms on my phone to when to switch tasks, which is insane, but I'm a maniac and I have big goals. So that's
But it works for you. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
And I do the same thing, just to a more limited degree.
Yeah. How many big goals projects do you have in a year? I'll answer that question. I'll have Billy answer because I think you'll get two different answers. I used to do 10 goals a year because that's an old school 1990s technique. Sit down and write out 10 goals you want to accomplish next year. I found that's way too many, at least for me, because I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not a superhuman. So I try to keep, when I do annual goals, and again, I don't think annually anymore. I've talked about this. I think quarterly now. I try to ignore the year now, which is hard. I try to focus on the 12-week year, which is a book. So I focus on the quarter. But anyway, if I'm looking annually, I try to have less than four big goals / projects for the year. 4. I can do 5. I try to keep it 4 or less. Sometimes it's not, I don't think it's ever been less than 4. I don't think I've ever had one that was 3, but I try to keep it at 4 because then I can hit those. 10, I don't know if I hit those. I'll hit 2 or 3. That's my answer. What's your answer?
My answer is a little bit different. It just depends on what it is and how immersive it is. So a big thing to me would be, an event might be a big thing, but it's only a semi-big thing. Creating a new course is a really big thing. So I'll do probably 2 or 3 really big things in a year. My goal is always to have 2. And then a bunch of other big things like peppered in as I get bored. So my answer is that I keep stacking them up because I get bored and I get dopamine from creating the bigger challenges and creating tight deadlines.
How do you find your calling if you're not passionate about anything? I don't believe you. I think you are passionate about something. You just are devaluing it. I think you are passionate about something. If it's playing video games, you're passionate about something.
You don't need to be passionate about it either. It's amazing. Once you start solving a problem and getting paid for solving that problem, how much you absolutely fall in love and develop a passion for that. Sometimes the passion just has to follow the pursuit.
That's right. That's very true. That's what she's saying is right. Sometimes you have to do something and go, oh, I like this. They've done studies on really wealthy people, and a lot of them are in that category. They start doing the work. They start getting successful with the work and liking the work. They go, oh, I like this. And then that becomes their passion. So you might be in that category. That's a very good point. That's right. How long have you been tracking your time, and does it impact your relationship with others? Of course it does. I'm afraid I'll become too robotic if I do it every day. Okay, then don't, as I said at the beginning of this, then don't do it every day. Do it on 5 days a week, or do it 3 days.
Or do it with certain things. Right.
Say again.
You can segment what you're tracking. You can segment what you're tracking. You don't need to track everything. Track the things that are most important to you, or the things that you fear take up most of your time, right? It doesn't need to be every aspect of your life. You don't need to time when you're going to use the toilet.
Right.
You can.
And right. So again, adjust this for what makes sense to you. What I just described makes sense to me. It may not make sense to you, and that's okay. Does it affect my relationship with others? Absolutely. You think women like this? You think my women don't complain?
Yes, I do. But we're rare.
Yeah, that's different. But I'm not dating you. So
no, we're not dating.
Right. So my wife, Pink Firefly, when we lived together, I've talked about this. I had do not disturb time from 10:30 to 4. And the rule was, sweetheart, I love you. You cannot bother me. Daddy has to go work now. You cannot bother me unless someone is bleeding or dying. That's the rule. Yeah. Bleeding or dying, then you can knock on my door. If you knock on my door between 10:30 and 4, my first, and she did it a few times. My question, who's bleeding or dying? I better have a good answer to that because you're interrupting my work. So no. So yes, you will have friends. You men will have women. You women might have a man who goes,
Or
my
men.
man is spending time with me. And fuck you. No, you don't like it, leave. I'm working. This is my mission. This is who I am. If you want to go date someone who has lots of time on his hands, go ahead. That's most men. Have fun. Or again, they might be dating me friends. A lot of you have loser fucking friends. Oh man, you're always working all the time. Let's just go smoke weed and go to the bar, dude. What do you want in life? So yeah, I don't care if it affects other people. That's their problem. And all my people, Alpha Male 2.0, you can leave whenever you want. I won't give any shit about it. Unlike everyone else.
You guys we all train people how to treat us. That's
Right.
it. All you're doing is setting some boundaries. And if people don't like those boundaries, that's okay. You and they can move along.
Okay, hang on. Aaron Clary, that's what I was thinking of earlier. Thank you. We have to go. Billy, you want to whip through the questions and pick out your favorite 3, and then we'll answer those, and then we got to go. You want to do that?
So let's just answer a couple quick. I definitely want to say, how would you focus on one business, but this person realized they've developed a lot of services in that business? Is this my brain falling into the same bad habits? And James, I'm going to say possibly yes. So at the beginning, it's really easy for us to see how many different solutions we could provide. But the reality is all you're doing is spreading yourself too thinly and not becoming an expert. You can always add more. Start with 1 or 2 things. Start with a baseline. Add the flavor later. Caleb, what would you say to that one?
So here's the thing. This is a complicated answer. When you are building a new business, having lots of offerings, lots of things you sell is okay. That's how I was able to make a lot of money very quickly on the internet. I wasn't selling an ebook. I was selling 6 different ebooks, 4 different coaching programs, 7 different courses. I had a product line. Now, here's the problem. When you get into the 6-figure level and you want to expand to the high 6 figures or 7 figures or 8 figures, you got to do the opposite. You got to narrow back down again. And if you've watched, those of you who have watched my content for I've been on here for 15 years. Those who've been around for a long time, you've seen me do this. You've seen me expand my product line and then narrow it back down. So, and then some people would say, well, Caleb, you should have never had all those different things. Maybe, but those things do make you a lot of money in the initial stages, the initial 3rd stage of your business, if your business is 10 years old. So it's a complicated answer. I don't disagree with what Billy said. I agree. And I have the ability of the organization to manage all those income streams. I had that. There were some problems because I had so many different products. I have this spreadsheet called a master products list. And whenever I hire anyone, including people who work with me for years, they go, okay, what's this course? And how does that relate to this book and this mini course? And so we have this giant spreadsheet of all my books and courses. And it's kind of a pain in the ass.
It took years for me to figure it out.
Yeah. But to be honest, I made a lot of money on that stuff for many, 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 many years, part-time. I was making 6 figures part-time from that stuff. So I can't say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. No, it was a good idea. That's why I talk about having lots of income streams is good.
Exactly. What we suggest is making your life as easy as possible. And that usually isn't just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right. You want to pick one more question?
Yeah. The other question was, how good a presenter and speaker do you need to be when consulting and engaging a team?
Oh, good question.
You have to be confident with your topic. I am not a very good public speaker in my mind. If you were to just say, stand up and talk about something, I would struggle a bit. But if you give me a topic and it's one that I understand, I can talk all day and it's very natural and people feel that. People can feel whether you're making it up, whether you're fudging it, or whether you're living, sharing your authenticity with them. So I would suggest that you don't have to be a great presenter or speaker, but you do need to be authentic. Caleb, I think you might answer that differently though. What are your thoughts?
How good of a presenter and speaker? I need to read the question again. And do you need to be when consulting or engaging into? Well, need to be. Do you need to be an engaging speaker to be a good consultant? No, you don't. Would you have PowerPoint to help you not run sure to rehearse your calls? Okay. Do you need to have good speaking skills to be good at consulting and engage with the team? No. Elon Musk, is he a good speaker? He can barely talk, right? But I would imagine he engages his teams pretty well. So you don't need to. Does it help? Yeah, it does help a lot. So speaking is another natural talent I have, and I've had this for a long time. You can give me one topic and hand me a group of people, and I can carry that through for an hour without even thinking about it. But that's a natural talent that I have, and I've had it since I was young. So when I was a kid, you have to do a presentation in front of the class, and kids are all scared. I'm an introvert, but I just had no problem. All right, go up there and talk. And yeah. So it's helped me a lot as a consultant, a lot. Managing teams somewhat. I'm a little outcome independent, so my management skills not that great. It probably should be better, but that's my personality. But so it does help. But if you are not a good speaker, what you said there, would you have PowerPoint slides to help you from you're not rambling? Yes, that's a very, very good idea. That's PowerPoint slides are fantastic for people who talk too much or go off tangents, because a lot of people do when they speak. So that's really good idea. Yes, do that. If you feel that is you. Absolutely. Yes. I don't need slides. When I do slides on my other channel, what do I always say? You guys like slides, so I'll do slides. I don't hate slides. I don't need them. I can just talk for 3 hours. I can do it. But most people aren't like me.
You know, the thing is, you don't need being a presenter and speaker is a learned skill. Anyone can learn and develop and improve at this. Caleb and I were both born being able to talk our faces off on certain topics. Now, if you ask me to walk into a strange room, like at a networking event, and introduce myself to strangers, that would be really freaking hard for me. That's a skill that I have to continue working on developing, and I do. So if you feel you don't have strong presentation and speaking skills, develop it. There are lots of groups, there are lots of free apps, websites, etc. Develop that because you can. And it's a very worthwhile investment in yourself and in your future.
Toastmasters.
We love Toastmasters.
Yeah, Toastmasters is one of the best investments you'll make of your time. It costs like $30. If you live anywhere near a major city, you'll have several meetings. Go to toastmasters.org and they teach you how to public speak. And they're awesome. They're amazing. Exactly. And it will help your confidence. It'll help your communication ability. It'll help your dating life, including if you're a woman.
Like your business network, absolutely.
Your network, everything. It helps. It helps your social skills across the board. It helps your sales calls. You do phone sales. That's why I did Toastmasters back in the 90s. I wanted to be better on the phone with sales. And I heard from the sales guys, join Toastmasters, it'll help. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I started speaking, like, this is fun. I love this. So
I lost, you know, same thing here. It's such a good investment in yourself. So please do that. Or practice with your friends. You know, practice with Bob from work. Invite a stranger out to lunch. You know, there are a lot of ways of practicing these skills.
Yes, correct.
Have to be formalized if that doesn't resonate with you. But I think with that, Caleb, we are past our time. I know we have a hard.
We are past. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of your questions. You guys read some other stuff. I have a very juicy topic. You can go over that YouTube channel, look at to see what the topic is. I want to mention it here because of YouTube rules. But I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Auntie Billie will yell at him.
What?
Auntie Billie will yell at him because she doesn't necessarily love listening to that content.
No, she doesn't. No, it's not her thing. But we have mapped out the next 8 weeks of live streams. So if you go to this channel on YouTube, Unchained CEO or Alpha 2.0, you'll see all the stuff there. And then, like I said, I will do a nerd live stream for you guys late November at the end of that schedule. Cool. 90-day business builder. You have 1 week, 90daybizbuilder.com.
You'll
love
see you guys
next week. Thank you, Billie.
You guys will love it. The coaches are amazing. And next time I'm with you guys, I'm going to have a little recap to share of our amazing event down in Cancun that unfortunately Caleb missed, but we're going to drag into some next year.
Next year, yes. Cancun's so awesome. I did miss that. Yeah.
Oh, the adventures that we had.
That's right. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Billie.
See you soon, guys. Thanks.
Bye, guys. Bye.